please stay silent as usual. Ms. Novak, please roll call.
Jose Rosario.
Here.
Maria Zapaznik. Here. Lori Cepeda. Here. Thomas Lima.
Here.
Patrick Hurd.
Here.
Catherine Almeida. Here. Leandro Alvarez.
Here.
Shane Crowland.
Here.
Taylor Gates.
Here.
Luisa DeVideo. Here. Gabriella Everett. Here. Shayla Mella. Vanessa Ruggieri. Here. David Sears.
Here.
Daniel Seavey. Cassidy Stewart. Here. Scott Kane.
Here.
Michelle Brophy-Behrman. Here. Mark Pitalucci.
Here.
Nicholas Lima.
Here.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Thank you.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now move on to item 2, approval of the agenda. I am seeking a motion to approve the agenda. Motion from Representative Sears, second from Representative Video. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Secretary Spada.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda and add an item under new business. For item E, I'd like to add the Making College More Affordable Act legislation from Congressman Cicilline. It's just key points from his proposal, and I'd like to give members of Parliament an opportunity to see and discuss what's on it.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second from Representative Dane. Is there any discussion? No discussion, we move to a vote. All those in favor of amending the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Abstentions? No abstentions. We will now motion to approve the agenda as amended. Is there any further discussion on the agenda as amended? With no discussion, we move to a vote. All in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Abstentions? With that, the agenda is approved. We now move on to approval of the minutes of September 28th, 2016. I'm seeking a motion. Motion from Representative Almeida. Deputy Speaker Almeida. Second. Second from President Rosario. Is there any discussion? Secretary Spada.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment on page 8 of 9 of the minutes. There's a period missing after staff update. At the end of the sentence, Mr. Pitalucci did not have any announcements and yielded his time to Mr. Enlima. There's a period missing. And under appointments, resignations, and vacancies, under bylaws and adjudications commission, there's a period before the slash, and I would like to remove that period.
Would you like to make that amendment friendly?
Yes.
Is there any objection to this amendment being accepted as friendly? With no objection, the amendment is approved. Is there any further discussion on the minutes of September 28th, 2016? No further discussion, we move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes of September 28th, 2016 as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Abstentions? Dr. Brophy-Behrman abstains. And with that, the minutes are approved. We now move on to open forum. Is there anyone here for open forum? Is there anyone here for open forum? Is there anyone here for open forum? With no one here for open forum, I declare the open forum hearing closed. We move on to item 5, officers' announcements. President Rosario.
Hello everyone, tonight I have 2 announcements. The first one is that we are looking for one more student to serve on the traffic and parking committee for the college. If you or anyone you know would be interested in serving on this committee or looking for more information, please see me after the meeting or email me with any suggestions. My second announcement is that pretty soon we'll be having our PECET, which is where the Executive Council of SCG and the President of the college's cabinet get together and discuss issues. So I would strongly encourage everyone during issues of Parliament members to share some of the issues that might be on your mind so that we can accurately represent this body. And that concludes my announcements, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Vice President Spazner.
Hi everyone. I just have one announcement. We are doing another election for freshman class council because the junior position for secretary is still open. That will be held on October 26th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. down at the Dining Center. The declaration period is occurring right now. It started this, Tuesday, which is the 11th, and it goes until next Tuesday, which is the 18th. And not only are we doing junior secretary position, there is also one spot open still for freshman parliament representative. So if you know anybody who's freshman or junior who might be interested in either one of these positions, please urge them and encourage them to come into our office by next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Thank you very much.
Secretary Spada.
Hi Hi everyone, so just to announce the next roundtable is on November 19th. That's up in 422, so if you're a secretary of a club or know anyone that is a part of an organization here on campus, make sure they mark that date off. They do get letters 2 weeks before along with an email, just spread the word so they remember. I haven't picked a topic for it yet, but I hope that there will be a more solidified objective of the meeting after we get back from our ASGA conference, and hopefully there's more we can contribute to it from that. Another thing is, since we last saw each other, we had the Student Organizations Carnival as our contribution to homecoming weekend. I got a lot of great feedback. Everyone was really happy with the event, had a great time, and I hope to meet with all of the organizations that participated and kind of do a debrief session on what they think went right, what could go better, and what improvements we can make to bring this back next year. And that's all.
Thank you. Treasurer Lima.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First off, I have a non-parliament seat open on finance because one of the non-parliament members is actually elected to parliament, so I'll be filling that seat post haste. If you know anyone, please have them fill out a committee application immediately, or I already have some names in mind for that non-parliament finance commission seat. Aside from that, I have several other agenda items about the status of the Finance Commission and what we've been doing so far this year. And that concludes my announcements.
Thank you. Next up is Speaker Hurd. I have one announcement. I have a lead from Shayla Mello. Good morning, Patrick Hurd. My name is Shayla, and I'm on one of the seats for Parliament for the freshman class. I'm very sick to come in. I went to the doctors yesterday, and they gave me medicine and told me to get bed rest. I have a doctor's note from yesterday if you would like a copy. Shayla. Again, the meeting of October 12th, 2016. We move on to Deputy Speaker's announcements.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I don't really have any announcements today. I want to go over what President Rosario said, that if you do have suggestions, you can bring them to us. If you feel you'd like to do so anonymously, if you go to ricksdg.org, you can fill out an application for the things that you want to improve on campus, totally anonymous, go straight to our email. And just an alternative.
Thank you. We move on to item 6, reports. Finance Commission meeting minutes of September 28th, 2016. Treasurer Lima.
Thank you. These minutes were approved today by the Finance Commission, and with no objection, I ask that they be approved with unanimous consent.
Is there any objection to these minutes being accepted with unanimous consent? With no objections, the minutes are approved. We move on to item B, student organization meeting minutes of September 21st, 2016. Secretary Scalia.
These minutes were accepted by my committee with unanimous consent, and were accepted by the committee, and I ask that they be accepted with unanimous consent.
Is there any objection to these meeting minutes being accepted with unanimous consent? With no objection, they are accepted. Move on to item C, roundtable report of October 6th, 2016. Secretary Scalia.
Hi guys, this is a report from the roundtable I held on September 14th. It was our first roundtable for the semester. We focused on welcoming the organizations back and going over general housekeeping and keeping up with organization letters, emails, and contact info. We also went over planning events. Last year we didn't do this till our third roundtable, and I thought this was much better having it this early on, so organizations actually have the information they need to plan events later in the year. And on the back side of this, you have a list of organizations that attended. All of the check marks are organizations that were at the roundtable, and if there's a date next to one of the organizations, that's the day that I met with them individually because they were not able to make the meeting. So I asked them to be accepted.
Is there any objection to this report being accepted with unanimous consent? With no objection, the report is accepted. Move on to item D, Finance Commission allocation report. Treasurer Lima.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First off, great thanks to my comptroller, Ismail Santana, for his aid in preparing this report for Parliament. This report does not reflect today's finance meeting, so there has been further allocations, but the report reflects the entire month of September. And these 3 finance commission meetings, we saw a lot of new operating budgets. We saw a good amount of conferences. We also saw the allocation for Boston, and that's a significant portion of this money has been given out here on so far. As of the dates report that was submitted, we have given out $79,000 total in the form of allocations to existing budgets and allocations to new organizations. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take them at this time.
Alumni representative.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Treasurer Lehman, thank you for the report. Just one comment, this could maybe even be something they do in your treasurer's announcements, but looking at the report, it's just hard to judge the context of it without the baseline number of how much money is actually in the general fund. So how much is being given out, how much is being allocated, how much revenue is expected is all great, but not without seeing the contextual framing of that. So I would just suggest that you could view your reports or perhaps in your treasurer's announcements, you make a regular update on the stats of the general fund as a whole. Thanks, Mr. Speaker.
All right, and responding to that, again, once that picture is clearer, I'll have those numbers for Parliament as well. I know we're still intaking money from the student activity fee, and we expect it to come up. Aside from that, I'd like to have this report accepted by unanimous consent.
Is there any objection to this report being accepted with unanimous consent? With no objection, the report is accepted. We now move on to item 7, new business. Item A, LGBTQ plus coordinator resolution, President Rosario.
Hello, everyone. So it is my understanding that this resolution has passed through Parliament many moons ago before any of us were here. We have decided that it is imperative for the student body to have someone who specializes in LGBT rights and can also deal with the emotional turmoils that come with the journey of whether it be coming out or acceptance or inclusion on the campus. We believe that this person's duty will be to provide resources outside the campus when we cannot provide those resources anymore, and also make them knowledgeable of things like the counseling center and any other resources that the college will provide. So this resolution is basically in support of a coordinator to be hired on the campus.
I'm seeking a motion to approve the resolution. Motion from Secretary Spadafore, second from Representative Lehman. Is there any discussion? Representative Sears.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of Parliament, as a co-sponsor of the resolution, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to speak in support of the resolution. If this resolution is approved by the body and executed by the administration, it would be considered a significant step forward for the LGBTQ plus community on campus. It's a community that I personally take great pride in representing in my capacity as a commuter and body representative for Parliament. With that, Mr. Speaker, I would like to put forth an amendment to the resolution at this time. In the last line where it said, be it further resolved that student empowerment of the school coordinator would be necessary to achieve this goal, I would like to eliminate this goal and add a higher quality of life for the LGBTQ plus community on campus. And I move passage on the motion.
I'm seeking, no.
I'll second that.
Second from Treasurer Lima. Is there any discussion on the amendment? With no discussion, we move to a vote. All in favor of President Rosario?
Could you please repeat your amendment?
To eliminate this goal, last two words of the resolution, and replace it with a higher quality of life for the LGBTQ plus community on campus.
Secretary Spadafore.
I think it would make more sense instead of just, even though it's a bill to promote in the LGBTQ+ community, I think it would make more sense to change it to be it further resolved that student empowerment will use as coordinator would be necessary to promote inclusion and acceptance at Rhode Island College. And so I'd ask that that be a separate afterwards.
We're discussing the amendment.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker, I think that's
discussing the amendment that's reads, striking the fiscal and adding a higher quality of life for the LGBTQ plus community at Montrose. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? No discussion. Representative Sears.
And of course, one of the motion, is a point of order. If Secretary Spadafore believes that that is a better, does anyone hear the Secretary proposal? Then by all means, if you decide to vote against mine, we can bring that up in another motion.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
Station point.
We must vote on this amendment before we can pass on the
Right.
Is there any further discussion on this amendment? No discussion, we move to a vote. All those in favor of amending the Rhode Island College LGBTQ plus coordinator resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no.
No.
Division, please raise your cards if you are in favor of this amendment. Deputy Speaker Almeida, Representative Sears, Representative Ruggieri, Colonna Representative Lima, Representative Beam, Representative Alvarez, Representative Stewart. Cannot vote. This is your first meeting, so you may not vote on this. All those opposed, please raise your cards. Okay, so the ayes have it. Abstentions. Treasurer Lima abstains. Dr. Rupert also abstains. With that, the ayes have it. The amendment is accepted. Is there any further discussion on the resolution as amended? Secretary Cepeda.
I'd like to make a motion to change the previous amendment, to make an amendment to the last be it further resolved, to read be it further resolved that student parliament believes its coordinator would be necessary to promote inclusion and acceptance at Rhode Island College, just because I feel the wording makes more sense, just higher quality of life seems very, like, science-y and just seems easier to use for
Motion from Secretary Cepeda,
So moved.
second by President Rosario. Is there any discussion on this amendment? With no discussion, we move to a vote. All in favor of amending the Rhode Island College LGBTQ plus coordinator resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no.
Nay.
Representative Sears was, I don't think I need to say that. Is there any abstentions? I'm sorry. With no abstentions, the amendment is approved. Is there any further discussion on the resolution as amended? President Rosario.
I would just ask that we read the amendment one more time, please.
Be it therefore resolved that student parliament believes its coordinator would be necessary to promote inclusion and acceptance at Rhode Island College.
Okay. Is that
Sorry, one more time.
Be it further resolved that student parliament believes its coordinator would be necessary to promote inclusion and acceptance at Rhode Island College.
Is there any further discussion on the resolution as amended? Alumni Representative Lima.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a purely cosmetic change, just in terms of the grammar of the resolution. It should be one flowing sentence. So at the last whereas statement, at the end where it says crisis for a student within the LGBTQ plus community, at that point it should say, there should be a comma, and then say, be it therefore. And then at the next line, it should start with resolved, comma, that student parliament urges the administration of Rhode Island College to hire an LGBTQ plus coordinator, comma, and be it further. And then the next line would begin, resolved, comma, that student parliament believes its coordinator open to that point forward. So I make that I would just actually ask, make that as a friendly amendment in the motion, just so it flows as one complete statement.
Is there any objection to this amendment being accepted as friendly? With no objection, the the amendment is accepted as friendly. Is there any further discussion on the resolution as amended? Representative Sears.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Another friendly amendment I would like to propose. Under the last whereas, second line of this last whereas, where it says, "in awareness of campus resources during the time of crisis." I would like to eliminate the and add times and make times plural. So they would read, "in awareness of campus resources during times of crisis."
Motion from Representative Sears. Friendly. Is there any objection to this amendment being accepted as friendly? With no objection, the amendment is passed. Is there any further discussion on the resolution as amended? With no further discussion, we move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the resolution as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Abstentions. Deputy Speaker Almeida abstains. And with that, the resolution is approved. We now move on to item D, discussion of new faculty awards. Speaker Hurd. So at the last meeting, I mentioned that the governor was on campus recently, the Innovation Office, talking about open educational resources. So it's basically openly licensed materials that educators can use for classes, both here at colleges and elsewhere across the entire educational system. And one of the things that they brought up was that there is, at Texas A&M, I found one example of this, but their student government there has established a student-nominated teaching awards. So they have an award for, not monetary awards, by the way. They have awards for utilizing open educational resources, as well as developing and creating open educational resources. So I would like to discuss this with the body, if this is something that we want to do. I'll start with asking, have any of you had experience using free materials in class as opposed to buying textbooks? I'd like to open that up for discussion.
Representative Davis.
So one of my professors, everyone here in college, when you apply, you get a free subscription to New York Times. And one of my professors uses the New York Times a lot to write in his references, and we read a lot from the New York Times. So I think that's a really good idea, and since it's already available to students for free, he makes great use of it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else for discussion?
So the floor, correct? Thank you. Here's another question. How much have you spent on textbooks this semester? I've spent about $24. I bought a textbook on Amazon for my English class. I'd like to open it up for discussion as to the amount of you spent.
Discussion.
Approximately $500.
Is there anyone else for discussion?
I spent about $230, including a bio book that I got really lucky and found used at the bookstore.
Is that all right?
Well, I also spent about $300. I would like to also play devil's advocate and say that the bookstore did in fact save me some money in purchasing materials.
Yeah, so open educational resources, being openly licensed, means that any educator here on campus or elsewhere at other campuses could use it for their classes. It would be free, available through online or, online. And then you can either print out yourself. There's the option of buying copies that have been printed for you, but obviously they would be very low cost because it's openly licensed. You don't need to pay royalties or anything for it. So supporting open educational resources would obviously lower the cost for resources that you have to pay for your classes. And I would like to open up for discussion again for anybody who wishes to do this.
Discussion, Secretary Space.
Do you happen to know if the online free resources lower the quality of the product students are getting?
Yes. At the discussion with the governor, one of the educators there, I don't know which university they were from, but they said that the quality does suffer a little, but since they are able to openly change it, no matter to what they want, there's no copyright restrictions, which is a very good thing. So they can either update it for new information, or they can correct any mistakes that they see.
President Rosario?
Is this item to discuss awarding professors that use free materials or urging the college to move towards more use of free materials?
This is a discussion of possibility of awards, seeing as other student governments have found it to be a good idea.
Representative Reed?
So I think it's a good idea to award faculty who we feel are doing a good job. Perhaps you could expand it to just more than just open textbooks and to innovations in the classroom overall. Anything that we think is outstanding, we should recognize in some way. That's all I know.
I think it's a great idea, just because we do have such a diverse group of students here around the college. A lot of them can't afford such expensive textbooks, so it'd be a really great way to show that our college campus is open to welcoming students from any income group.
Representative Sanders?
Just for clarification, Mr. Speaker, this award would go out to be based on merit of the professor.
That would be something that we could decide. Texas A&M is nominated, their teaching awards are non-monetary, and they're nominated by students. So that could either be us, or we could possibly accept other nominations. And this is all something that we can discuss and decide for ourselves.
Because personally, I mean, I am 100% in favor of doing some sort of faculty award, because I believe that the professors, faculty, and staff here at our college are invaluable. They just been fantastic. However, I do believe that in regards to getting these reduced rate books and other materials should be based on students, just because it's whether the professor gets nominated or doesn't get nominated, shouldn't be on the student for that, unless I'm misunderstanding.
I'm not personally understanding what you're saying. I'm sorry.
So, in other words, if I'm understanding correctly, the professor would be nominated for an award. And that award would be, for example, free textbooks for the students in their class.
At Texas A&M, they have two awards, one for utilizing open educational resources. So part of that is determining whether they're actually using open educational resources. So it would kind of be the job of whoever is awarding the award to check to make sure that it's actually openly licensed. Openly licensed means it's free. So you can get it online for free, or through some other method for free, like checking it out at the library. Obviously, if you want your own copy, that goes.
So with that, my suggestion would be, rather than, if the teacher gets the award where they would get that open license, it wouldn't be fair to the student that has a professor that would not be nominated for such an award. However, I am all in favor of awards for professors and faculty.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker. Oh, sorry. This, so I believe, I think there's some confusion about the award. I think it is intended to be recognition, not something that benefits the students of the faculty member who receives the award. It's just recognition.
Honestly.
Continuing discussion, then move on to President Rosario.
I think this is a wonderful idea. I think that it will increase morale throughout the campus and increase the student-faculty relationship as we look towards, which professors are making the most impact in student lives, especially as Secretary of State Representative Dane had mentioned throughout this discussion. I do think that this may be something that we should discuss at our PECAC and come back with a formal plan as to how we would like to proceed. What kind of ceremony would it be? Who would be hosting, and where would it be? Who's invited? But those details, I believe, should be worked out during the PECAC.
Vice President Sanders.
Going do support the idea about giving out awards will help improve morale on campus. I have two parents who are teachers, and I'm going to educate myself, so I know from personal experience that, hearing from a student saying that you're a great teacher is one thing, but then hearing it from people we work with, people who are even above your position, saying you're doing a great job, it makes me want to do it even more and even improve what I've been doing already. In terms of the open educational resources, I would be careful about that because a lot of teachers that I have had in the past use Blackboard and library reserves. So you would have to be careful with the guidelines you would use in terms of awarding teachers for using open resources.
Representative Leo. I'm all set, thank you. Dr. King.
I love the idea of providing faculty awards that come from students. I think it's fantastic, and I think from a faculty member's perspective, sort of there's kind of two sources of awards that probably are the most meaningful from their peers and from students. Those would have the most impact. So this is a great idea because we don't currently have faculty awards from students. And I would just, if this body wants to go down this road, I would just recommend that to think about faculty awards broadly. I mean, not only an award for the use of open educational resources. What about an award for integrating current events into the material that's being presented, or incorporating diversity topics within the framework of lectures. I mean, there's so many different topics that I think you could come up with that would be very meaningful for students and also provide and incentivize faculty to touch upon topics that are important to students.
To go back to President Rice with Dad's next point, my apologies, about being careful about the use of Blackboard and library reserves, I think that if we are going to give these awards, we do have to have certain parameters in place. And with that in mind, we might want to consider the creation of an ad hoc committee for this purpose, because currently we do not have a committee, I don't think, that would be tasked with creating a faculty awards ceremony. So that might be something that this body could propose, and I would strongly encourage if anyone wanted to propose that, to come speak to myself or someone who knows the policy. We can try to have something for the next meeting.
Is there any other discussion in the body? That will move on to.
This is something that the Innovations Office is trying to do already, and they've switched out one of the books in one of the nursing classes with an open educational resource. So that book normally costs $500, and it's 1,000 students that take that class. So that's $500,000 that we've saved, and that's already happening. So the purpose of giving an award is to increase adoption, because we'd love for $500,000 to be saved by students, but we'd also love to have more saved. So we could work with the Innovation Office on this. We could determine what's in use already, how they define open educational resources. Also, at other colleges, it's the libraries that are helping organize these efforts. UMass Amherst Library is organizing Open Textbook Initiative, as well as Temple University Libraries. We could also possibly work with our library to develop something like this to increase the adoption of the already innovating open educational resources. I'll open it back up for discussion.
Discussion from Secretary Spada.
Something I just wanted to mention is I work in the library like my freshman year, and I know the staff and faculty there are very open to helping teachers find great resources for students, and they're always open to, if you can't find a textbook for a class that you can afford, they'll help you find something similar. So I'm sure they'd be able to give recommendations to professors to what they can use that we already have in our library that's easily accessible to students, including what's available on the Hellman system and online at our databases.
Yeah, so I do plan to go forward with the idea of establishing an ad hoc committee. I really like that idea, and I like what we've discussed today. Maybe opening up to other awards in the future. I think starting with this would be a great start, as well as student feedback on this further. That's all.
Is there any other discussion? With that, we'll move on to item C, have any closing.
Is I'm thinking from a faculty perspective, just to reiterate the idea of having more than just that kind of award, and even starting with that kind of award only may be a little problematic because I guess I just don't know what kind of resources are available, and I know that some faculty, depending on the classes they're teaching and what they're using, what they're trying to get across, they may have a much more difficult time finding open resources. So to start off only rewarding people who are using open resources, I don't know if that's the best way to start. I like the idea of having just teaching awards. I think would be fantastic. It would do so much to boost morale because Rick only has one teaching award that's decided by the just committee that decides it. But that's not, a lot of schools have a lot more, and they have student awards as well. So it would be great.
I think that from a student perspective, starting with this kind of award, advocating for or hoping to increase adoption of resources that would help students is our goal. Like the college may have their own teaching awards, and that's great, but maybe students would most like to see this going on. And I'd also like to talk about what the actual, I give my example of open educational resources that I've used personally. In my computer science cryptography class last semester, our professor, Professor Sarawagi, used open educational resources, and she had both lectures on YouTube from a professor in Germany in English lecturing about cryptography. She had set her class up weird. She's tenured, so she can do that. We had kind of our lecture for homework, so we watched the lectures on YouTube for free. Then we went to class, and that's when we did our homework. So we did work together as a group, and we went over PowerPoints that the professor had made available for free that they had personally wrote, the professor in Germany, and they'd also written their own book on it. So the professor recommended that if we were really interested in the subject, we could purchase the book in print or we could download it online for free. And that's what open license means, that it's free for anyone to publish the book. You could sell the book yourself, or you could go online and download it as a student for free. And that's all for what I want to say.
Vice President.
And I think we're gonna work on it once if we do put the idea of having a committee together to come up with parameters for this. Also make sure it's fair to all majors, because there's some majors that this wouldn't really apply to, such as the music department, the art department, the theater department, but it's more hands-on learning. This is what you're proposing right now works with more lecture-heavy majors. Yeah, that's it.
Representative Dane.
I just want to agree with Dr. Brophy-Berg. It's a good start, and I get that it's a good goal, and I'm very supportive of that goal, but you need to expand outside that goal. There are a lot of the professors on this campus deserve recognition of some kind, and maybe they won't, through that specific issue, won't be able to receive recognition, and I just think having a committee to discuss more than just that one goal with multiple awards would be a better use of that committee's time.
Secretary Steele.
I'm not sure if you mentioned it before, but would this award be specifically for professors that solely use online resources, or if they incorporate it in any way in the classroom?
I mean, we could make that ourselves. We could decide on the rule. I'm not sure exactly how it's used at the colleges that have these awards. Specifically, they say utilization. So I'm guessing that if they use it well in class, how much they use it. So if the student's nominating, you're not gonna nominate a professor that just uses it for one day, and then they still have to pick out a color textbook. That's not really good utilization. No student's gonna nominate you for that, I don't think. So that's my response.
President Rosario.
I guess to reiterate kind of the resounding opinion of the body, I'm a little weary about having a committee that's solely dedicated to providing awards for open materials. I definitely think that we should expand it, and I think it goes more towards the mission of boosting that morale and also giving student community government in some capacity a better connection with the faculty and staff of the college, because in theory we're all here to better the experience of the students.
And Treasurer Lieber.
I agree with President Rosario. I think it should be expanded, just to echo Mr. Dang's point. And also agree it's good for the image of SCG, for student community government. So we're reaching out to the faculty community. I think it's a good initiative in the sense that we're recognizing faculty. You can only hope that this committee, whether it be run by SCG or even co-opted with the administration in the future, is open to all departments across the campus. And again, we open up and have school awards to our outstanding faculty member.
Is there any other discussion? Alumni representative.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Ferrer, just actually a question for you. So is your intention to have an ad hoc committee created within student community government in order to study the issue further?
I have not decided.
Well, my suggestion to the body then would be to place this item rather than moving on to the next topic.
These are just some minor changes to brought my attention to, mostly grammar and spelling issues. So if you turn to the very back of the agenda, you'll see that we have the current listing of 3.2.15, and then the proposed revision, which is instead of must produce as a report to Parliament, instead will be changed to must produce a report to Parliament, because unfortunately produce is not the proper form of produce in this instance. And then another change proposed is on 3.5.3, the spelling of constitution was unfortunately incorrect, so so that will be changed as well. So I make a motion to accept these written policy revisions with unanimous consent.
Is there any objection to this policy revisions being accepted with unanimous consent? With no objection, these policy revisions are accepted. We now move on to item D, nomination for secondary SCG advisor, President Rosario.
Hello, everyone. So I would like to give some context before moving into kind of where we're going as an executive, what we're proposing as an executive council. Historically, we have had this sort of chain of command in student community government where we would report to the dean of students, who would then report to the VP of student affairs. Dr. Keane has graciously been serving in both positions, and we, as an executive council, were considering the idea that having both of those positions and the advisor position and being the only one in that chain just seemed kind of unfair, frankly. And we would like a secondary advisor to act as a bridge between the interim vice president and ourselves to kind of ease that burden and also allow us to have access to someone else to sign our withdrawal slips in Dr. Keane's absence, or to just help us, I guess, work efficiently while Dr. Keane is off doing his other duties, because he has plenty of other things to do throughout the day. I would like to reiterate that this person will not take the place of Dr. Keane as our advisor. Rather, again, would just ease the burden and be the intermediary so that we can kind of shuffle things towards another side and allow for other work to be done. With that, I'd like to open the floor for discussion. And actually, because we have to nominate someone, this discussion will also be a chance for Parliament members to nominate a faculty or staff member that is part of the union to serve as our secondary advisor.
Is there any discussion? Secretary Staley.
I'd like to nominate Professor Ron Long.
Have you had the discussion with Dr. Keane prior to this coming out?
No, can I answer?
You may answer.
The executive council just wanted to bring this forth. I mean, if it doesn't pass, that's fine. We just thought that it should be nice thing to do. It wasn't done with malicious intent.
Representative Sears.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would be holding off in making a nomination tonight, since I was still going to be surveying other faculty advisors, potential faculty advisors. And of course, if Dr. Kane has anything to say, I'd be interested in hearing what he would have to say.
Is there any further discussion?
I'll just say.
Administration, Representative Kane.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, as President Rosario had mentioned, so actually the bylaws of student community government actually indicate that the advisor to student community government is the dean of students, and that the vice president for student affairs is an administrative representation on this body. So, almost 2.5 years ago, when then President Carriolo asked me to serve as interim vice president, I had no idea, student community government had no idea that I would still be serving in the interim VP role and the dean of students position for such a long period of time. And I think it does, it does certainly make sense to sort of help out or sort of backfill that position from student community government's perspective. And we should probably did this 2.5 years ago, if that's where we knew, we were going to end up going. The only caveats I would have to that are twofold. One is that given, the original reporting structure, my recommendation would be that the sort of secondary advisor is someone that reports to me, because as dean of students, I report to the vice president. I think that you just want to sort of maintain that structure, and because there's a communication thing that goes on there to kind of keep the bodies, keep the individuals talking. And then the other thing is that I know that President Sanchez has the intention of filling the vice president position permanently at some point in the relatively near future. I just don't know what that timeline is exactly. I don't know if that's going to be 2 months from now, 6 months from now. But my recommendation would be that any interim appointment for a secondary advisor probably is over at the moment where we have both positions filled permanently.
President Rosario.
First of all, I would like to apologize because I realized that I missed some very key points in what I was explaining. I would like to answer both of your concerns. The first one being, I would like to clarify that this kind of process would be that student community government would report to the secondary advisor, who would then report to Dr. King as the interim VP of student affairs. So this sort of chain of command would be reincarnated, so to speak, and it would give us a chance to, again, kind of split the burden a little bit, so it's not falling on just one person to advise us. I just don't think that's fair. And to your second point, I would also strongly urge the body, and I don't know that I can make this a motion, but I would consider revisiting this idea when the two positions are split once again, because then we're not having the same issue of having one person carry all of the weight. I don't know if that could be a motion.
Point of order, if I'm incorrect, the agenda item said nomination, there was just nominating, right? Any secretary advisor will have to be confirmed by the body.
Absolutely, yes.
So I don't think so.
Is there any further discussion? Secretary Cepeda.
Could we maybe change it to be an interim secondary advisor, and their term would expire when the position is filled for the dean of students?
I would be comfortable with that.
So I'd like to get
There's no motion on the floor to amend. Representative Sears.
You can answer my question.
Representative Dane.
So, did the E-Board have anybody in mind when they introduced this? Anybody they thought would fill this role?
Do we still have the board?
Yes.
So the did share between ourselves a list of potential nominations, but we really wanted to hear from the body first, and then if we needed to, we would interject. Did that answer your question?
You still have the floor, yes.
So I only received this yesterday, so I really haven't gone out and spoken to anyone I think will be able to do it. So perhaps giving everyone more time to think about this would be a good idea.
Will you give information, Mr. Speaker?
Please state your point.
The people that are nominated will be contacted so you can see if they are interested, and then the body would vote on the interested faculty or staff members at the next meeting or whenever we've received all of our confirmations.
So is the e-board going to the executive council, are they willing to share who they had in
What a
mind?
personal privilege. Can you please speak up? We
Sorry.
can't hear you. Thank you.
Is the executive council willing to share what they had in mind? Is that a secret?
Yeah.
I think what Jose was trying to say is, we'd like to open it up to the body and not influence, I guess, who the advisor is. We'd like to know who the body thinks would be a great secondary advisor for us.
Representative Dean, you have the floor still.
Again,
Next on the list is Representative Sears.
So clarification, are we or aren't we nominating a interim SCG advisor this evening?
I responded to that, correct?
No. Point of information, can you respond, Commissioner Wood? You were shaking your head. President Patrick, please state your point.
We're just making nominations tonight, if possible, people for our faculty for our interim secondary advisor. Nominations are being taken tonight. It won't be decided until later date. So, like, in a solid decision, this person is our secondary advisor.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
Please state your point.
Similar to the nominations for alumni reps, again, these names will be taken, we will create a list, we will contact these people that are nominated. They will tell us, yes, we are interested, no, we are not. From there, those names will come back to the body, the ones that are interested. And the body will then vote on who they think is best qualified to serve as a secondary advisor, interim secondary advisor.
Yes.
From there, would there be any form of process from those that responded positive in regards to sort of like a forum or some sort of interview process with the candidates?
President Rosario,
To the best of my knowledge, I do not believe policy is to hold a forum. However, if we wanted to, I think we have to address that and see if it would be a region policy. I'm not sure that would be something that we would do. Typically, the alumni representatives, for example, do not come to the forum or interview process.
It seems as though that this is a unusual circumstance that doesn't normally happen, especially in the circumstances that currently exist with two seats being morphed into one at the time, and haven't been split apart. That said, I'm holding my nominations until further notice, so whoever else gets nominated tonight.
Thank you. Alumni Representative Lima.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To answer Representative Sears' inquiry, the Executive Council of Steve Community Government Incorporated is charged with the efficient management of the corporation in between call meetings, and for any provisions not already provided for within policy and bylaws, I think it's well within the Executive Council's rights to look at a list of nominees that this body provides, see what is accepted, and then bring those nominees back to the body in the matter the Executive Council sees fit for approval. Absent of a policy, usually it's the Executive Council that has pretty unilateral authority to act in that regard and bring the matter back to Parliament for a final vote. But to go back to the reason I have myself on the list, I know the Executive Council doesn't want to have too much sway or influence in asking members of this body to submit nominees. I would encourage members of the body to submit any nominee that they feel would be suitable for the role. Just a little brief bit of history. I know in the past, student community government, without this current situation, just for the basis of trying to have a little more autonomy, had attempted in the past to have their own advisor in addition to the administration advisor. And it was something that it never really got off the ground, materialized for a variety of logistical reasons. And I think part of it was the college and student community government were not on the same page, were not there was something that SCG was empowered to do. But in this case, as President Rosario has mentioned, and as Dr. Kane alluded to, this has been a unique circumstance, having an interim position for over 2 years. If this body does intend to have a temporary co-advisor for the body in order to provide more fairness, as President Rosario alluded to, I think that the nomination that we currently have on the floor for Dr. Mark Mott, who is someone who I know on an academic level and also on a personal and professional level, is a fine nominee, and I would second that nomination. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next on the list is Representative Dean.
So I like Dr. Leesy's at the political science department.
Could you please repeat and spell that name?
Oh, you're killing me.
Please state your point.
Dr. Francis, F-R-A-N-C-I-S, Leazy's, L-E-A-Z-E-S.
Thank you. Representative Dean.
That's all, thank you.
Next on the list is Representative Video.
I'd like to nominate Dr. Valerie Andrews. Do I spell her name?
I would love that.
Valerie, V-A-L-E-R-I-E, I believe. It's on a Y. And then Andrus is E-N-D-R-E-S-S. Andrus, yes.
Thank you. Next on the list is President Rosario.
My apologies for what I'm about to say, but due to her knowledge of the policy, I would like to nominate Dr. Rupi Van.
Is there any further discussion? Alumni Representative Lima.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Real quick point that actually would point out that Dr. Andrews in the past, and I'm not sure if Dr. Leasy's has, but he may have been, and Dr. Mott have all served on this body in the capacity of faculty advisor in the past. And of course, as you know, part of the important role of an advisor is to provide continuity and advice to the corporation and be familiar with how it operates. And I think that's an important consideration for the body as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any further discussion? We now move on to item E, the Dayton College More Affordable Act. That is Secretary's point.
Hi everyone. Some of you may know Congressman Cicilline is going to be on campus tomorrow. President Rosario and I, along with some other students, are going to be having lunch with him to discuss some legislation he's going to be proposing, the Making College More Affordable Act. I was able to get a copy of some of the key points he has on this legislation, and I just wanted to open it up to see if anyone has any input as to what questions they want us to ask him, anything to clarify. So I'd like to hear your discussion.
Representative Video.
Can you ask him about the package of legislation last year that him and a couple of very Democratic, I forget where they were presenting it, but it was a bill for a package called In the Red, or Get Students Out of the Red. It seems very similar, but there were more stipulations. It went a little further. I believe he was one of the co-sponsors on that legislation package. So, yeah, I'm just wondering if this is something that's come back, where they've made changes to it, or it's a brand new sort of thing they're doing.
Representative Dean.
Okay, I love Representative Cicilline. He's a great guy. He helped me with dealing with the IRS when I needed to do my FAFSA. However, is he introducing this to Congress in this session of the Congress? Because you really should ask him if he's going to do it next session, because what's happening now is called the lame duck session. They're not going to do anything before the election. So, and they're certainly not going to do anything after the election until the next Congress is sworn in. So if he really cares about this, can you please ask him if he's going to do it in the next session? That's all I have.
Is there any further discussion? Secretary Spada.
Some of the things I've written down, just to give you guys an idea, was whether or not payments would be deferred for those students seeking graduate education, because right now it's not really specific about who this would apply to. If people that have gotten loans previously would be grandfathered into the system, and if there's anything else he's proposing to do so that getting an education isn't the equivalent of taking out a mortgage on a home.
Is there any further discussion? With no further discussion, we move to item 8, updates and remarks. Administration update, Dr. Scott King.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm texting Mr. Tencher right now, trying to go, what's the deal with the power?
Information.
State your points.
The entire state of Spada is without power right now. And also the bathrooms, the automatic hand things aren't working because those run on electricity, so don't try to wash your hands in those bathrooms.
Thank you. So just a couple of quick updates. You may have participated or you may know that last week the nursing wing of Fogarty Life Science Building was dedicated on Friday, or there was a ribbon cutting ceremony. So if anybody had a chance to attend, thank you very much. It's exciting. If you haven't been over there to tour that facility, I highly recommend that you do, because you'll get a sense of what other buildings will look like as we continue to make, the renovations engage and quickly and that sort of thing going forward. Also, I wanted to make sure that this body was aware of some key searches that the college is currently engaged in to fill key positions at the college. In particular, the three that come to the top of my mind are the Assistant Vice President for Administration position that we're searching for, an Associate Vice President for Community, Equity, and Diversity, and the Director of Equity and Inclusion. And do we know, Mr. President, do you know, is there student representation on those committees?
Sorry, which?
The search committees for the 2 AVP positions and the Director of Equity and Inclusion.
I would strongly encourage that there would be, but I've heard nothing. So.
Have you been asked to?
No, but I do have a meeting scheduled in the near future. They can push that.
Yeah, I would think that, well, at least for a couple of those, I mean, it seemed to me that it would make a great deal of sense for there to be a student representative on the search committee. So I'll work on that on my end too. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next is faculty update, Dr. Michelle Brophy-Durbin.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that on the 26th, I'll be presenting the advising recommendation that I mentioned two meetings ago to the AFT, the union departmental reps, and it's an open meeting where any faculty or union can attend. I did promise you this body, the report itself, I haven't got it to you yet, but I'll be getting it to you, and I don't know if that's something that would go on the agenda for the next meeting. And I just wanted to let you know that. And then the other thing is, I want to just plug something that's going to be happening in this room next Wednesday at 8 p.m., and that is Debate Watch, and the Political Science Club, and the Science Honor Society, and the college gyms are doing this, there'll be prizes and watching the debate.
President Rosario.
I just wanted to clarify that any item on the agenda just needs to be in by 1 p.m. on Friday of next week to get on the agenda.
Is there any further discussion? We move on to staff update, Mr. Mark Bailey.
I'm passing, thank you.
We now move on to alumni update, Mr. Nicholas Lima.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I reached out to the Director of Alumni Affairs, Susie Alba. She didn't have any updates for me to provide for this particular meeting, but if there are any communications that this body would like me to give back to the Alumni Board or the Alumni Affairs Director, I'd be happy to take them at any time. You can always contact me or talk to me after the meeting or even right about now. One other important note, we're about 27, 28 days away from Election Day. I know a college-age students in particular are not only not, one of the least likely age groups in our nation to vote, and I encourage, even if you're turned off by the presidential election, as I personally am, I would encourage you to look at all the races down the ballot, in particular the bond questions on the ballot, which are important this year. There is, I believe, at least one that is important for higher education at the university. So I encourage you all, since you still have a few weeks left, to make up your mind, to take a look at those issues and figure out how you would like to vote on them if you choose to vote on election day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. We now move on to item 9, appointments, resignations, and vacancies. President Rosario.
Mr. Speaker, the first part of this item is I have received a resignation from Romero Montero from the Committee on Academic Advising, and I ask that that be accepted with deep regret.
Is there any objection to this resignation being accepted with deep regret? With
Point of
no,
order, does he need unanimous consent and deep regret?
is there any objection to this resignation being accepted with deep regret and unanimous consent? With no objection, the resignation is accepted with deep regret.
I also have a few expulsions. We will be expulsing Tatiana Rice from the Committee on Academic Advising and the Conditions and Services Committee. We will also be expulsing Slade Sharma from the Conditions and Services Committee. I now move on to appointments. I'll be appointing Representative Ruggieri to a student parliament seat on Conditions and Services, and Emma Holland to a non-student parliament seat on Conditions and Services. Representative Dame will be moving to the last student parliament seat on the Finance Commission, bringing up a non-student parliament seat. We will be appointing Vanessa Villon to the last non-student parliament seat on the Public Relations Committee. We will be appointing Representative Ruggieri to the Academic Advising Committee. And we will be appointing Brittany Riley to the Traffic and Parking Committee. Before I conclude with this item on the agenda, I would also strongly like to urge everyone, will also remind everyone that on Parliament you are supposed to join one SHA, one college committee. If you have not already done so, please see me after the meeting or as soon as possible to make sure that we can get you on the committees that you would like to be on. If you have questions about what committees are available, please come see me and we will walk through each of the committees and kind of what they do. I'd be happy to do that. And on that same note, if you have friends or peers that you think would serve on committees well, please reach out to me, have them reach out to me, and we will move forward with that. So with that concludes my okay. Motion to accept these appointments and expulsions.
Second by Deputy Speaker Almeida. Is there any discussion on these appointments and expulsions? No discussion, move to a vote. All those in favor of these appointments and expulsions, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? President Rosario abstains. And with that, the appointments and expulsions are accepted. We now move on to item 10, issues of Parliament members. If you have an issue, please raise your card and you may speak about any issue. Beginning with Alumni Representative Lindbergh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank Mrs. Barton and Mr. Hoviak for my name cards.
Thank you. Next on the list is me. I would personally like to thank Anchor TV for handling the situation with the electricity very well. I'm glad to see that our skill rates are being covered, and I think that's great. Representative Ruggieri.
I just have a quick announcement. As you guys may or may not know, Hope is in the process of becoming an organization again, and we're having our first meeting on Monday at 6:30 in upstairs at 422. If anyone wants to attend, I would love to have you. That's all.
Are there any further issues of Parliament members? Secretary Spades.
I'd like to remind everyone to bring up any issues they have before we meet with the President's Executive Council, or come up to see any of us during the rest of the week or later tonight.
Deputy Speaker Almeida.
If you're not comfortable doing so now, you can log on to our website and fill out an application for issues that you do feel need to be brought to our attention.
Are there any further issues? President Rosario.
For those of you who have friends or who have not signed up for a committee, I would also like to point out that the committee application form is on our website. We can also scan it and email it to you. You can even email us and we'll fill out the form for you. There are multiple ways to do this.
Are there any further issues with conflict members? With that, we move on to item 11, adjournment. I'm seeking a motion to adjourn. Motion by Representative Dane, second by Treasurer Lima. There's no discussion. We will move to a vote. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Abstentions. And with that, we are adjourned. Please stay silent and seated while Ms. Koviak reads roll call.
Jose Rosario.
Here.
Maria Zapata. Here. Lori Cepeda. Here. Thomas Lima.
Here.
Patrick Kirk.
Here.
Catherine Almeida. Here. Leandro Alvarez.
Here.
Shane Carlin.
Here.
Taylor Dane.
Here.
Luisa Dividio. Here. Gabrielle Emery. Here. Shayla Mello. Vanessa Ruggieri. Here. David Sears.
Here.
Daniel Seavey. Cassidy Stewart. Here. Scott Kane.
Here.
Michelle Brophy German. Here. Mark Palucci.
Here.
Nicholas Lima.
Here.
Thank you. Recycle.
Get that over there.